You're listening to a download from the outdoorstation.co.uk.
Number 285.
Welcome to the Travel Show.
I think it's a splendid idea. Podcasting around the world.
The UK's best podcasting show for world travellers of all ages. Welcome again.
It's a podcast full of hints and tips for travellers of all ages travelling to all places.
It's all about getting out and having much more fun.
This podcast is one in a series of 4 and covers a trip undertaken in 2009 around Croatia. Accompanied by my friend Alice, we set off on a 3-week adventure. As we had just financed 3 years of university, we were keen to keep things on a budget, and so chose to visit Croatia because of its cheap and easy access, as well as its beautiful landscapes and deep history. Throughout this series, we describe our surroundings on our chosen route and some of the experiences as well as adventures along the way. Where possible, we talk to local characters and fellow travellers to find out more and give listeners a true flavour of the country. We stayed in hostels and homestays throughout our trip and carried all we needed for the duration in small rucksacks. For those of you interested in a budget trip around Croatia, this is the podcast for you. Part 3. We spent several days exploring Dubrovnik before venturing inland to experience travel in Bosnia. We really noticed a contrast in the cultures of these neighbouring countries, and we spoke to a local about the history of Mostar and what the immediate future holds. Alice and myself found Dubrovnik to be one of those really captivating cities, and for the first time in almost 2 weeks we stayed in one place for several days, thus allowing us to explore the old town one cobble at a time. So it's day 12 of our travels, and we are still in Dubrovnik. We've been here for three and a bit days now, but we thought it'd be best sort of to do a bit of a roundup rather than do day by day, so we can tell you sort of the best sights that we've seen and things all at once. So day 10 we strolled into the old town, had a look around the city, saw the cathedral, which was pretty nice.
It was a lot plainer than I expected, and some of the other churches we saw were much more ornate, but I think you can also go to the cathedral treasury, which has all the kind of interesting ornate gold work and things. Definitely.
But that was, you needed to pay to go in, so me and Alice sort of gave that one a miss. But yeah, I had a wander around. It was pretty hot that day, so we sort of took a coffee break and had wrote some postcards and had a bit of an R&R, which was nice. And in the afternoon we headed to the walls and did a 2-hour walk sort of around the whole city, which is 50 kuna, but well worth it. It was fantastic views, and just really brought sort of the city to life.
You could also pay an extra, I think it was 40 or 50 kuna for an audio guide, which stopped at a few points around the wall, I think giving a bit more history. We opted out of this, but I think it would have been quite interesting. Yeah, you probably would have learned more history, obviously, with that sort of tour. But we enjoyed just sort of taking a wander and taking our time and taking lots of snaps. So that was basically the day, and sort of chilled out in the evening, as we like to do. And then day 11 we were pondering the Mostar question, which we both really wanted to go visit, but we'd been told that you could do day trips from Dubrovnik, which would basically take out the stress factor of finding accommodation, now that we'd kind of got used to how things in Croatia work and how it's best to get accommodation, either by tourist information or people at the various ports or bus stations. But we did a bit of internet research and found a pretty good hostel
by all accounts. So we've booked that. So we do know where we're going, and we've got a 8 a.m. bus tomorrow. So we're both really excited about it. It's supposed to be really different culture, different food, and apparently lots of bazaars and fun places to shop, which is always a good plan. So that basically took a morning, and then the afternoon was spent on the beach. We took a wander to Copacabana Beach, which is by the campsite in Babencook, which is an area to the west of Dubrovnik Old City. But there's lots of beaches sort of sporadically around the coast, so that's all good. And yes, so today we spent time going back into the old city, but through it this time to the Modern Art Gallery, which was 30 kuna to see. And the guidebook sort of said that they had various exhibitions, but there was also kind of traditional Croatian modern art also displayed. Sadly, we found that there was only one exhibition on display and no sort of modern art per se of other collections. It was just the one, which we didn't really like that much. I know obviously art's a personal taste, so that was a bit disappointing, but we did have a nice lunch in the city, which was really good, and we were surprised it was pretty reasonable, because I mean, you do probably have to shop around, but it's obviously more expensive in the old city. But this place was just kind of tucked down a side street, and it was nice to treat ourselves and have a meal out. So we wandered back here after town, and both pretty tired and hot. Really, it's been really hot this end of the coast. So we spent all afternoon just sort of chilling out on our balcony, reading, and having a bit of a doze, which has been fantastic. So that's probably how we're going to spend the rest of the night. Got to pack up for tomorrow, and we're going to probably try and walk to the bus station, which should take us a good hour, really. So we'll be up around 6. But I'm sure it'll be worth it. We're both looking forward to Mostar, so we'll let you know how it goes when we get there. After a really great time in Dubrovnik, we headed inland to Bosnia. During this 3-hour bus journey, we crossed from Croatia into Bosnia's access to the sea. This was just a few miles wide, but as I gazed out across the water, all I could see was rows and rows of markers which depicted where there were mines. It was at this point I realised that although these two countries were so close, the experience we would have in each would be significantly different, both socially and culturally. So it's day 13 now, and me and Alice has made it all the way to Bosnia, and we've got to Hostel Midas, and I'm joined here by
Bata,
and he's one of the tour guides here that does quite an epic tour by all accounts. But we're going to start off by just sort of going through the name and what he does, and a bit of history about what he's doing.
Okay.
So yeah, you've already told us your name, and what would you say is your professional title?
Oh, geez, very good question. I don't think so seriously about the things as you just put it and everything. My title, I don't know. I run a hostel with my sister, my mom, and I'm a little bit of a tourist guide. I'm a little bit of everything in this establishment, a little bit of, butler, a little bit of give massage to people and cure people and shock them and entertain them and juggler, a little bit of everything.
Yeah, this hostel is really homey. Like, it's on the internet, there's a lot of really, really good reviews. I didn't realise that you were actually part of the family. But you are.
Yeah, that's a part of the, I think, that's a part of the, big part of the, I think, special type of hostels we develop in this country. That's the impression I'm getting from other backpackers. Not like a big, kind of, 50, 60 beds establishment. No, just small, nice, cozy,
And how many beds do you have here?
18.
18, yeah, so it's nice and cozy. So have you always been in Bosnia?
No, I didn't. I'm born here. I lived until 1993. Being 22 years of age, I was forced to leave because of the circumstances of the war. I went to live in Sweden. Well, I've lived in 14.5 years, came back a little bit less than 3 years ago to do this hosteling and all these tours and stuff.
So you said you've been working with a hostel for 3 years. Have you seen much of a change in sort of the travellers you get through Bosnia in that time?
In travellers, how do you mean in travellers?
Well, the people visiting the hostel, has there been different types? Are there lots of Europeans, or is it now kind of wider? How would you describe the travel scene?
Okay. First of all, I think people are staying much longer now. than I did in 3 years. We are quite new in business, only 3 years, so I don't have so much to compare with, really, with other hostels or something. I can just speak about my own. So people stay much, much longer, which I'm really glad for. First year they stayed, maybe spend just a night here on the way from Dubrovnik to Sarajevo, somewhere else. Just convenient on the way, take some photos and leave. These days they come to book and stay in 3 days and maybe stay 5, 6, 7. That's very fulfilling for us. I think this country has so much to show, so much to see, so much to experience, and these things take time.
So do you think it's the history of Bosnia that draws people in, or is it the people realising there's actually quite a lot here to offer? Because obviously Mostar and Sarajevo are quite important areas, and probably what springs to mind. Do you think people are discovering more areas of Bosnia?
Definitely, especially different aspects of it. First, I think 3 years ago it was so much about wars, so much about destruction and people being killed back and forth and stuff, which is inevitable. This is like a post-war type of tourism. It's just to expect, to accept. Now it's totally different, I believe. People don't ask so much about wars anymore. Maybe they know so much now already. I don't know. But they experience other aspects of our life, of our culture, which I'm really glad for. It's so much to be experienced.
Yeah, it's very different because I've told you come from Croatia, and it's so very different, but they're just next door to each other. The cultures, they've definitely got the Turkish ambience and things.
Okay, sure. Well, I don't know. Croatia has been going different development ever since they left former Yugoslavia. It's getting more and more Europeanized. It's more and more expensive, and people get a little bit different too, I think. I don't want to say a little bit colder and stuff, but I would like to say it that way. And then they are maybe a little bit spoiled, a little bit development went too fast, too many people coming, so they maybe feel they don't have to be friendly anymore. So in that sense, Bosnia is just the next door, but I think it's almost like a different continent, totally different country.
There's definitely a Bosnian charm.
Yeah, I believe so, especially in people. That's, I believe, out of working with this in 3 years, that's what the travel is mostly all about, for backpackers anyways, meeting people. And people are our biggest resource, especially since they don't have a clue about it.
Yeah, your tour, you're describing it to me today, and it seems like it does touch on this kind of the history side, the culture, the landscape. Do you try and combine all those three things by what various things do you actually see on the tour?
Yeah, definitely. I think this tour, my intention is to have kind of to show or to experience development of the tourism itself as it should be. At the beginning of the tour, it's so much post-war stuff. So much like, back and forward destruction and stuff, which is really important to understand things of today, because this war is kind of happening still in various ways. So in that sense, it's really important that way. And then it's so much more else. History about Bosnia and Herzegovina, people don't have a clue about, which I'm not surprised. We barely know a clue about it ourselves. So as you asked me previously, people don't come here for a history story of it per se. I don't think they know so much about. I think they are curious to find out. And that's I try to fulfill this need to this history. At the same time, I try to fulfill the need of my own, to find a way back to my roots. Again, something I was barely aware of since being born and brought up in communism.
And you were saying before, part of the tour you go and sort of stay with local people, and you get to taste sort of the local foods and the cuisines. What's quite specific to this area? Like the wine, because you said before that the wines are really special and the water's really special here, which again I had no idea about.
Yeah, what was the question?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, so the question was, in this area, you're saying that it's the water's really special and that the wine is really special. Why so?
Why so? Geez, good question. I don't know. Two different questions, really. Two different wine. It's just a good tradition has been happening through the centuries here. Original wines and wine grapes, and original and very unique, I think, climate conditions. It's very hot out here. Mostar area has been the hottest area and hottest city in former Yugoslavia, the most sunniest one too. And then the rockiest area in these neighborhoods too. And these two combinations just make incredible wines. The tougher the better. And then the water. Why water? Well, God's hand, I suppose. That's the biggest resource beside the human ones that we have in this country.
Again, that's something I didn't know, but the water here is definitely very good, and I was sure to be trying the wine later on. But thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me. It's been really good.
Thank you. Yeah, my pleasure.
And I hope the tour goes well tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you. Cheers, thank you very much. And more people, send more people to Bosnia.
Sadly, we couldn't make Batar's epic tour, although the people we spoke to in the hostel who did go said they had an amazing time, and we didn't hear anything but glowing reports. Definitely next time. Our day instead was spent in a more relaxed way, taking in the sights and exploring the great bazaars dotted around the town. It's end of week 2 and it's absolutely flown by. We are our second night in Maja's hostel in Mostar, Bosnia, and had a really good night out last night. We sort of spent the afternoon kind of mooching around and met some guys in the hostel, really friendly, and ended up going for a few drinks with them, as you do. Went to Alibaba's, which is a really cool place actually. It's basically a big cave, and there's a dance floor, and they do shisha there and drinks and stuff. Only thing is, we were told to watch out for the prices, because they tend to see a tourist and charge them something somewhat different to the locals, but you know, you can be aware as you can, really. But I had a really good night out, which was fun. So had another equally relaxing day today, actually, didn't we? Started off the day, as you do, with a cup of coffee, and found Palmer's Cake Shop, which we were assured by Maja, the hostel owner, was the place that the locals go. And I have to say that the cakes there were spectacular, and they were only 75p, which was one of the highlights. But we had to shelter there, really, because there was an almighty thunderstorm, which obviously, you know, meant that we had to stay and sample the delicious cakes. What else did we see today?
We went to the bazaars, the mosque and the minaret, and also, what else did we do? The old bridge.
We also walked along the main front line of the Bosnian conflict, which was really harrowing, to be honest, because not only did you have sort of built up more modern buildings, but they were kind of juxtaposed against basically the damaged buildings of the war. There were bullet holes everywhere, and it really made you stop and think about how recently the conflict was, I guess. I mean, 15 years still isn't that long, and it was in a lot of people's lifetimes. So that was really interesting and definitely worth doing if you're here. Then kind of took some more time going around the bazaars, and went into one of the mosques here and up the minaret, which was 8 mark and really narrow, but you did really get a good view of the bridge in the old town, which is kind of a focal point of the whole town, really. And yeah, just spent the rest of the day sort of having some nice lunch, buying some souvenirs, and just sort of soaking up the atmosphere. We spent some time on the bridge watching the jumpers dive in. It was quite fun. You see these men in speedos going along with collecting some money to dive in the churning waters, which they really were today after the rain. So basically today was just sort of enjoying ourselves and really enjoying the atmosphere here, because it is really different from Croatia, and if you do have a few days to visit, I definitely recommend it, and I'm definitely planning to come back in the next few years and sort of see Bosnia in greater depth, because it has been really enjoyable. So tomorrow, another early day of travel. We're heading to Polje by train, which we've been assured only takes a few hours, which should be good, and then from there catching a bus to the port, then get a ferry to Korčula. So it's going to be sort of a long day of travel, but looking forward to some islands again, and yeah, the next new place, so it should be good. Before we move back to our final week in Croatia, I really wanted to say how much I loved Hostel Maja's. We were only there for 2 nights, but in that time they gave us homemade cake to eat. Maja brought us figs from her garden. We sat around watching and laughing whilst a group of Spanish lads and Maja's mother swapped culinary tips and made traditional Spanish omelette with not 1, not 2, but 10 eggs. And they shared it with everyone. It was such a welcoming family atmosphere in the hostel and in Bosnia in general, and I would wholeheartedly recommend a trip to anyone. I can't wait to go back. Consequently, Alice and myself left Bosnia in great spirits. It's day 16 and we spent the last 2 days on Korčula, which is an island just off the coast from Ploče. So the last time we spoke was actually day 14, so it's a few days ago now. And since then, yesterday we took a train. It was quite early. It actually wasn't too bad. It was 9:25.
Yeah, it was a good time for a train.
Yeah, definitely a good time for a train. Good time for travel. We got the train from Mostar to Ploče, back to Croatia, which was 9:40 mark, and it took about 1.5 hours. We then took a ferry to Trpanj. I'm not sure that's the right saying at all, but it's spelled Trpanj, and that was 30 kunas, which was about an hour and a half-ish. And we were told that was the only way to sort of get to Aribic, which is where we were aiming for. So the ferry landed and we got straight on a bus which was waiting for us, and it was 19 kuna straight across the island to where you get water taxis over to Korčula, which was our final destination for the day. And considering we started off at 9:25, we did get there about 2:30ish.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad a journey.
So it was pretty reasonable, and we, because we got a smaller taxi, we weren't kind of swamped with people for accommodation. So after a bite of lunch on the quayside, I left Alice with the 2 bags and basically went door knocking. Really, in Croatia, there's so many places that have signs saying apartment or beds, which is known as sobe. So basically, yeah, as I said, just went door knocking and sort of asked prices and whether they had room spare. And we found a really nice little place. Did a bit of bargaining and got it for 140 kuna a night. But the best part for us was that it had a kitchen. So we could kind of cook our own food and save quite a bit that way, really. And it was very nice waking up this morning and having breakfast on our balcony I had a nice cup of coffee, and we had yoghurt and fresh fruit and things, which we have done on the side of a road before now, but it was quite nice to have it on a balcony and be very civilised.
Yeah, definitely having a fridge is a luxury when you're travelling.
Definitely. Been enjoying the cheese. So basically the last few days, it took us pretty much the half of yesterday to get here, and sort of spent the rest of the afternoon kind of wandering the streets. It's a very small, quaint little town, obviously a bit more money than some of the places we've been to, because the style of the shops are very much designed for the richer tourist, really. Very nice jewellery. They've got like sea sponges and lots of naturally made liqueurs and other wonderful and weird products made of lavender, which is very famous in this region. So that was nice, sort of spending the time to look around. But today, to be honest, because it is such a small place, we felt we'd done it to quite an extent yesterday afternoon. We spent the whole day on the beach, which was really nice, really relaxing, lots of reading. And then we made some dinner for tonight and sort of went out and bumped into a few other travellers and ended up having a drink with them, which was really cool. So tomorrow morning we're off to Hvar. We're doing a bit of island hopping the last few days. And that is a 6 a.m. ferry, which isn't particularly exciting, but I'm sure it'll be nice when we get there and don't have to travel very far.
No, the early start gives us a whole day, so make the most of it.
Definitely, and hopefully find somewhere to stay sharpish so we can dump our bags and head to the beach. So yeah, that's us basically. We're planning to spend the next 3 days on Hvar, and the last 2 days in Trigir, and then head to the airport. But sad, it's flew past very quickly, flown past, I should say. But yeah, we'll see how the 5 o'clock alarm clock does. Hopefully it'll wake us up. Otherwise we'll sleep through it and miss the ferry.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
Join us in part 4, the last in the series, when we return to Croatia to do some island hopping up the Dalmatian coast, around the tourist hotspots, before arriving eventually in Split. During the last few days, we reflect on the trip as a whole, talking about the pros and cons of travelling in Croatia and the ideal kit for a lightweight traveller.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. To hear more from our extensive free library, please visit the website at theoutdoorstation.co.uk.
You can now follow The Outdoor Station on Facebook, where we chat about each programme we produce, answer questions and discuss future productions. Why not join us there?
This podcast is produced and hosted by theoutdoorstation.co.uk.